Part-1, Chapter-9. Ayindra returned to America in the spring of 1981 with his vision of a traveling temple, Sri Sri Gorni Tai, and 2 new additions to his altar, brass murtis of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. When the New York Temple president, Toshan Krishnadas, asked what service he would do, Ayindra replied, "I want to help the temple get back to its street Harinam." "And how would you do that?" Toshan Krishna asked, starting to like this fiery young man. "I want to set up a stage outside the public library on 5th Avenue, Ayindra explained, with a real sound system, flags, banners, and big paintings. Now here's a man with spirit, Toshan Krishna thought, a little rough on the outside, but with a heart of gold. He agreed to the plan and brought Ayindra in as a pujari. On a typical morning, Ayindra would finish his service on the altar, tuck a rolled-up carpet under one arm, sling a mridanga over his shoulder, and head out to chant. Sometimes Rasatala Das would help, sometimes Kurmarupa Das, who was serving as a bhakta leader. Most days, Ayindra would venture out alone, towing a handcart of equipment, a small portable amp with a microphone, stand, and cables, a few posters mounted on cardboard or light plywood, and some books and magazines. He would roll out the carpet at Rockefeller Plaza, Times Square, or Bryant Park, just behind the library, set up the equipment, put the books on display, and then sit down, mridanga in his lap, and chant until evening. Now and then, 1 or 2 devotees would join him. At first, he was constantly on the lookout for the police. Quote, "Show's over, buddy," they'd order. "You can't perform amplified music in public without a permit." He saw that he needed to start playing ball with the police instead of hiding from them. Toshan Krishna helped him figure out how to get the right permits, and every morning Ayindra would go to the police station of the precinct where he wanted to chant and get the $20 permit. He became a regular customer at the station and a familiar sight on the streets, now able to set up and stay in one place using a folding table as a low stage. Sometimes the police would stop, but only to listen. Ayindra became known as a tough character, even for New York, a maverick with a strong personality and a penchant for Shastra. He would scrutinize devotees' classes and ask pointed questions. Quote, "What you're saying doesn't sound right, Prabhu," he would challenge. "Where does this idea come from? What is the reference?" And he would keep pressing the issue until the speaker either provided a satisfactory answer or admitted to not having an authoritative source. But that could drag on for hours, which was annoying to many of the devotees who had to get started with their day. His kirtan wasn't popular with everyone either. His voice was still developing, and some devotees found it displeasing. And although he stayed with traditional melodies, he played them in a way that many people couldn't follow or just didn't like. Sometimes when he was leading, devotees would leave or refuse to play instruments or sing along. Quote, "His kirtans were very intricate, complex," one devotee remembered. He used Indian ragas and changed the rhythm, sometimes slow, sometimes fast. Some devotees would complain and ask him to make it more simple, but he didn't listen to them. He didn't care. He never changed. He didn't try to please the crowd. He wanted to please his deities. Quote, "He was very concerned about the melodies," Kurmarupa recalled. "Is this a bona fide melody?" he would ask. It was hard to tell what bona fide meant, but those were the only melodies he wanted to chant, traditional Gaudiya Vaishnava tunes in our line. Ayindra wanted people to pay more attention to chanting, to be alert, on their toes, unsure what would happen next. when someone once suggested that it was like he was pulling the listener's ear, and that by pulling their ear to be more attentive, he gained their attention to the holy name. Ayendra snapped his fingers and said, "You've got it. You've understood me." Then, when he got people's attention, he would switch gears, speed up. He didn't mind if his kirtan struck some as confusing or difficult to follow. They would just have to exert a little more effort. A lot happened in the New York devotee community over the next couple of years. Toshan Krishna relocated to Vrindavan. Bhavananda Goswami and Rameshwar Swami were appointed co-governing body commissioners, GBCs, for New York. The 7th Avenue Temple was sold, and in November 1982, Sri Sri Radha Govinda moved to a big new temple in Brooklyn on Schermerhorn Street, not far from their original home on Henry Street. Ayendra continued to focus his attention on the streets, going out daily on Sankirtan. He would encourage guests at the temple to join him, and gradually a few of them began going out to chant with him, at least somewhat regularly. Renunciation, described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita as, quote, the basic principle sustaining the lives of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees, had been a central feature of Ayendra's spiritual practice since even before he met the devotees. But in New York, he began to adopt further austerities to promote his spiritual progress. Observing authorized vrats like Ekadasi, quote, has a lot to do with learning sense control, he said. And the purpose of our learning sense control is that we can control lust, because as long as lust is prominent, there is very little chance for its antithesis, prema, to manifest. It's very unlikely. Just like the example of the prostitute who was converted by Haridas Thakur, she was told to distribute all her valuables to Brahmins and Vaishnavas, and then come and sit in her kutir to chant 3 lakhs of Nam before Tulsi Maharani. But she was also advised to eat frugally. It is described that by eating frugally, like a bird, she became thin and her senses became weak, and thereby she was able to gain control over her senses. When she gained control over her senses, only thereafter prema manifested in her person. As cited in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, quote, one who passes the Chaturmasya season without observing religious vows, austerities, and chanting of japa, such a fool, although living, should be considered to be a dead man. 42 austerities and observances are prescribed, and Srila Prabhupada states in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that, quote, Chaturmasya should be observed by all sections of the population. It does not matter whether one is a grihasta or a sannyasi. The observance is obligatory for all ashrams. The real purpose behind the vow taken during these 4 months is to minimize the quantity of sense gratification. Ayendra and a few other friends decided to observe the Chaturmasya Vrat. Quote, our program, Chaturatma Das remembered, was to sleep on the floor, rise early, chant extra rounds, and sing kirtan and read shastra in the temple daily. We didn't shave or cut our hair, drank water only once every 6 hours, and ate only once a day, directly off the floor without plates or utensils or even our hands, just a simple khichdi cooked without oil, salt, or any spices. There are dozens of rules, and we followed almost all of them. Only he and Ayendra ended up the 4-month period still maintaining their vows. While working on constructing the temple altar one day, he helped build the decorative gate. Ayendra noticed a short flight of stairs in the back, leading up to a door that opened to a small, dilapidated loft. He showed it to his friend Ramabhadra Das, the head pujari, and said, this is where you should live, Ram. You think so? Ramabhadra asked. Yeah, Ayendra confirmed. You should be close to Radha Govinda." "But it's a mess," Ramabhadra said. Ayendra smiled. "I'll fix it up." He cleared out the loft, cleaned it, installed lighting, painted the concrete floor, and finished the walls and ceilings with the stucco that he painted a brownish saffron, explaining, quote, "Psychologists say this is the most relaxing color." He created a shelf in a window bay and even furnished the room with the captain's bed, a bed and dresser in one. Ayendra himself had moved into the brahmachari ashram, but, wanting more seclusion, he set up his quarters in a large closet in a back corner of the temple's basement. It was dark, poorly ventilated, and leaked in the rain, but at least it was private. A thin mat and bed were his only furnishings. The rest of the space was filled with paraphernalia for Harinam: instruments, musical equipment, decorations, and a 4-track Tascam tape recorder. He also started doing kirtan in the temple, in the dining hall when devotees were honoring prasadam, and in the temple room after Shayan Arti when the deities were being put to bed. Quote, "Ayendra is getting very good with the harmonium," commented Vyasaki Das, a renowned ISKCON Kirtaniya. When in New York, Bhavananda Das Goswami, as co-GBC, liked to meet with each of the local preachers to see how their projects were going, and Ayendra looked forward to his interview. It was the spring of 1983, 2 years since he had gotten the inspiration on the Vrindavan rooftop for a mobile kirtan temple. He had heard a rumor that Bhavananda was considering a plan to turn the unused part of the temple basement into a recreational area, and if that was true, he thought there might be money available. The meeting began smoothly. Then Bhavananda asked, "Is there anything I can do to help you expand your project?" Ayendra spoke right up. "Yes, I need a truck." "A truck?" Bhavananda asked. "Yes, I want to turn it into a temple and drive it to important spots in the city to perform Harinam Sankirtan. I know exactly how to do it. I just need money to buy the truck and the materials." "How much do you need?" "The truck will be about $17,000, and I'll need to travel to buy materials to make it look like an authentic temple. And the sound system and instruments. Altogether, about $25,000. Bhavananda laughed aloud. Here was a young man with ambition. "I'm not going to just give you all that money," he said, "but I'll give you the down payment for the truck and loan you the rest if you commit to repay at $800 a month." Ayendra flushed with excitement. It might really happen.